person said, I just got to this point in my life where I made up my mind. And they made a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carried a level of energy that was greater than the hardwired programs in their brain and the emotional conditioning in their body to the past. And their body responded to their mind in that instant. And the stronger the emotion or the stronger the intensity of that energy, the stronger they felt that energy, they came out of the resting state, the more they paid attention to the choice they were making.
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 398. Hope you're amazing as always and life is treating you beautiful. 398, we're getting close to this big 400. Might not seem a big deal, but it's a big deal. It's another milestone, you know what I mean? And it always makes me reflect on when we started this journey. And if you're not a regular listener, then you need to be a regular listener. You know what I mean? We've had so many world-class guests on here. I make sure the content every single week is just epic. I take clips of badasses that I really like, and I break them down, and we show you how to implement them for your life and business. Remember, if you're new to Mindset by Design is all about building new behaviors, new ways of thinking, feeling, and acting using my system, which is neurovisual conditioning, which is built from neuroscience, behavioral psychology, NLP, life, spirituality, all to take high performance to a whole new level. And we've been doing this game a long time, you know what I mean? And I'm still pumped and excited to do these every single week. So make sure you're liking, make sure that you're sharing, make sure that you're finding someone to connect and hang out with me on social media. Pretty cool. If you've not got your epic mindset tools yet, then you probably need to do that. Head over to andymurphy.online, see what's going on over there. Grab your mind hack pack right now. It's pretty cool. It's going to show you how to control your brain waves, your peak states. It's also going to give you an audio that you can listen to every single morning. It's called the Fire Mind Morning. It's going to tune your unconscious mind up. It's going to drop you into alpha waves, and it's going to program your visuals for the day, every day, so you can perform at your best. Sound good? Thought it might sound good. And you need to be heading over to the unfairadvantage.online. Actually, it's just unfairadvantage.online. So you got andymurphy.online, you got unfairadvantage.online. So again, I'm not sure if you're listening to this in the future, but we're on the 12th of January today. Today, we have something really special about to launch. Yes, you've heard me talk about the Unfair Advantage Academy. Now, that's still there, but what we're going to do right now is take you on a 90-day journey. Why? Because it's the Unfair Advantage Bootcamp. I want to give you the results even faster. I want you to become the ultimate entrepreneur in 90 days. Would that be good? Thought it might be good. So we specialize in brain training digital entrepreneurs who are under intense pressure as they scale into the next stage of their business by building their business brain like an athlete transitioning from training camp to game day who is ready to win that gold. And we do it all without overwhelm, burnout, anxiety, or freaking out. So if you genuinely want to escape the matrix, if you're in Amazon, Shopify, e-commerce, drop shipping, agencies, or digital entrepreneur of any capacity, I know why you started your business and you want that freedom. So I want to train your brain like a pro athlete and fast track you to 7 and 8 figures in 2023. And what I've got coming out, so make sure that when you head over to the page, you grab this. It's a badass training. It's really, really quick. It's only 11 minutes. It's called Thrive and Survive as You Scale. It's a mindset master plan to make sure that you perform at your absolute best. It is the missing secret sauce of your business, 100%. And I want you to get it. So make sure that when you head over to unfairadvantage.online, that is the offer for you. Otherwise, just sign up and you'll be on the email list and you'll get it ASAP. Either way, come and hang out with me on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you are, I'll be there. Well, I jumped into telling you what was going on today, didn't I? I was excited. I haven't done one of those intros in a while, man. I haven't. So let's slow it down. Make sure you head over to those websites, but let's slow it down because today I really, really love today's episode. We got a clip from Mr. Joe Dispenza. If you don't know Joe, well, he's pretty epic. All about neuroscience, all about the brain, all about quantum physics, and he actually healed his back. He broke 6 vertebrae. He was crippled, and he broke his back and healed it from meditation and visualization. And so that's what he teaches. But so today he talks about health. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been going on a massive health journey the past 12 months. It's one of the things, if you didn't check the episode out, the chaos of my hacks, I should say, of 2022. So you can step into 2023 a rock star. If you didn't see that episode or hear that episode, make sure you do, because there's a lot of good information in there. And one of the things I've been talking about is health. Everyone talks about money. You know what I mean? And money's awesome, right? We like money. But it doesn't matter how much money you got if your health sucks, right? It could be mental health, physical health, doesn't matter. And so we need it good. So today's episode is about that. But what I'm going to do is add how to apply the same concepts to business, okay? So I'm going to show you today as I jump into this clip how to really apply this commitment, this level of thinking, this neuroscience, these chemicals, and how to apply these decisions so you step up in 2023 and really make this year the best of your life, right? That's why I've changed it to the bootcamp, Unfair Advantage Bootcamp. We just need results fast. The world is in chaos. I don't know if it's getting any less chaos. So we have to thrive in this chaos and really take charge of our lives and business. And if this was the year that you were going to finally take things to the next level and stop spinning in circles, well, we need our health in place, we need our brain in place, and so we can get our business the way we want it. Right? Sound good? Awesome. So let's jump in to today's episode and let's see where we go. Let's have some fun, and I'll see you at the end of the show.
We have this natural ability to create. The problem is after you imagine that, you open your eyes and you don't have it, people experience more lack. Well, we're not that good yet. So then the act of practicing enough times and beginning to create the state in which you're so connected to the energy of your future. Now think about this. You're so connected to the energy of your future, you're no longer looking for it or waiting for it. You feel like it's already happened. The moment you get upset in traffic, the moment you start judging a coworker, you just disconnected from the energy of your future, and now you're back to the energy of your past. Now, if you tell me it was that person that did it to you, I'd say to you, oh, you're back to the unconscious program of being a victim again. So then the person then goes, oh, when did I fall from, that state? When did I lose it? Oh, it happened at 3 o'clock today. The next time that happens, what can I do differently? Now the person's moving through their challenges in their life with coherence, with rhythm. They're starting to begin to make strides, and that they're no longer knee-jerking to the people in their life that they've used emotionally to reaffirm their identity. Now, this is the work because you look around to see if anybody's doing it, and you don't see anybody else doing it. It's kind of this kind of lonely moment where you're realizing that I'm the only one doing this. That's that kind of moment that you realize that nobody understands you but you, right? And you can't even ask your friends for their opinion because they're going to give you their opinion based on their own experiences. And it's that kind of moment where you have to draw in all your resources and begin to make up your mind. And
okay, crew, let me jump in there. And so Joe's just getting started, but it makes total sense already, doesn't it? You know what I mean? I'm sure you've listened to Joe Dispenza before, and it's actually, he was one of the first people that got me into the performance world, maybe 15, 16 years ago. Before that, I was working specifically using NLP in sales and working with CEOs, founders, setting up departments. I was also the top salesperson in 2 different countries in investment real estate. And what took me into performance, you know my story, I'm sure, right? We built a big project, a resort in Fiji, bankruptcy, Dubai, all of that story. And what took me into performance is I needed it for myself, right? To regroup, to refresh, to be able to handle that pressure and intensity of that transition into the next stage, right? Of my life, of my business, of my career. And what happens is, well, I found Joe Dispenza all of those years ago. He's really big and famous now, but he definitely wasn't as much back then. And what it was all about is understanding that we are training or building new ways of thinking, feeling, and acting, right? So what he's talking about there is your brain needs to be around the right things. So what happens is we have 2 different versions of us. We actually have, the way I teach it, we have multiple different versions of us depending on the task that we're going to do. What he's talking about is becoming the next level version of us, right? So what we have to understand is the brain works just like a muscle, and we have to pump it or train it how we want it to think, feel, and act, right? So, nothing you don't know if you're regular on this podcast. So, what he's talking about there is, well, give you an example. I'm going back to visit family in the UK. I haven't been back in about 2 years. I have to be very careful when I go back who I put around myself, right? So I'm very selective. And it doesn't mean I don't have a ton of friends there, and it doesn't mean I don't love them all. But if I spend too much time around the wrong people, then what happens is I start to get triggered by these old imprints from 30 years ago? Do you know what I mean? And it sounds so silly. And it is silly. It's just how the brain is wired. And look at it this way. If you've been biting your nails, right, since you've been 1 year old, big little nails back then, but if you were biting them, and it's very difficult or more difficult to be able to break that habit, right? And today, if you decided to stop, well, the thing is, that's the way our brain is wired when we have a blank slate, right? So who you were around when you were growing up, the behaviors from your parents, the environment, nothing you don't know, I'm sure. But all of those things are deeply ingrained or become an imprint or a blueprint for the foundation of our thinking. So the challenge becomes that also it's like getting scars, right? So if you've got lots of scars from when you were younger, and someone starts pressing on those scars again, the pain might not be there, but you still might react, right? Does that make sense? So you have to be so dedicated to being so in love with yourself and your future that you protect your energy, you protect your brain, you protect your emotions. And that doesn't mean you're in fear. No, it means you're in the opposite. It means you're in abundance and you're making sure that nothing affects you. So whoever you're around the most, you become like. And that doesn't necessarily mean people. It could be the videos. It could be whatever you're watching all the time. So it's another performance hack to make sure that if you're in an environment that you don't want to be in, you can put headphones in, you can listen to this podcast. You can do lots of different stuff, right? But you can immerse your brain in whatever you want. And so be very careful who you're around in business. Because if you're around people that are slowing you down because they haven't got the same ambition as you, then guess what? Then you think that you're going to thrive? No, it's the same with business partners. It's the same with team members, sales members. It's the same with anyone in your organization or anybody, right? Who is incongruent to your vision of the future. Then the challenge becomes they are going to be a hindrance. They're not going to be jet fuel for your rocket ship. I don't know if rocket ships have jet fuel. I don't even know what a rocket ship is, but that's where we're going with that analogy. But does that make sense? Right. So Joe's going to talk about how we use that in health. And he's going to talk about right now the decision that it takes to be able to change when you choose.
I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people that have healed themselves from all kinds of health conditions. And one of the most important elements that I see over and over again is when the person said, I just got to this point in my life where I made up my mind. And they made a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carried a level of energy that was greater than the hardwired programs in their brain and the emotional conditioning in their body to the past. And their body responded to their mind in that instant. And the stronger the emotion or the stronger the intensity of that energy, the stronger they felt that energy, they came out of the resting state, the more they paid attention to the choice they were making. Right. We had a woman on the stage in our event just recently, 78-year-old woman, very serious car accident, in a wheelchair, couldn't walk, couldn't speak. Made up her mind, like, this is it. I am here to change. It wasn't like 50% in, I hope this works. She was like, I made up my mind. And the decision became a moment in time that she never forgot. She will say to you, I know the moment I made up my mind. I know the moment I decided to change. That, think about it. That is the moment she moved her brain and body from the past present reality into a future present reality. What do I mean by that? People wake up in the morning and they don't feel anything. And all of a sudden, their brain is a record of the past. They start thinking about all their problems. And those problems are memories of certain people and objects and things at certain times and places. Now, their body's in the past. And if how you think and how you feel creates your state of being, that person's starting their day with their entire state of being in the past. So if they're living in the familiar past and they're in the known, they're going to create the predictable future. So they're going to run through a series of routine behaviors in their day, and they're going to want to know the feeling of every experience in their life. Well, if you can predict the feeling of every experience in your life, that's more of the known.
Okay, crew. So think about that, right? Think about that. If we woke up every day and we had a screen in front of us, and that screen was playing all the things from the past and all the mistakes that we made and all the negativity and all the doubt and all the fear or all the limitations. We were around the same people that we grew up with. They spoke to us a certain way. They didn't allow us to evolve and grow. If that screen was in front of you, with like some Google goggles on, then what do you think you would be feeling about life in itself all day, right? The same things as what you did last week, last year, or 25 years ago. So understand, if we don't become aware, or something called a pattern interrupt, where we interrupt the synapse connections, right, or the program that's playing, then what happens is we repeat the program, or we allow our brain to go wherever it wants. What we're talking about that gives you the unfair advantage, or when I train athletes or Fortune 500 CEOs, it's making sure that the automatic visuals that appear in your brain are the visuals that you want, because they directly affect how you feel and your behavior. Does that make sense? So if they're affecting your behavior and they're connected directly to the movie that's playing in your brain, then shouldn't we change the movie? Does that make sense? So what Joe Dispenza is talking about there is the same concept as I use to really rewire or upgrade the software that's automatically playing in the back of your head. And when we can do that, then everything changes. Now, you probably understand that concept, right? It's common knowledge now. I've said these things for 20 years. But how's that working out? Because understand this, just because something's common knowledge doesn't make it common practice. It doesn't mean you have a level of mastery. That's like saying because you've watched the UFC, right? You know how to fight. Because you've been to 3 jiu-jitsu classes or 4 Muay Thai classes, right? So now I know how to fight. Well, kinda. Do you know what I mean? You know how to fight at a level of a white belt. But that's not a black belt. So what I do with people is I keep training them as the business expands so we can become a black belt at mental mastery. Does that make sense? So what Joe's describing there is that decision which creates that interrupt in the patterns in our brain, and then we rewire the next stage.
So now, the person who's now living in that future known reality, how are they going to change? Well, the moment you make a decision and you come out of your resting state and you begin to say, I don't care what's going on in my life, environment. I don't care what people think, environment. I don't care how I feel, body. I don't care how long it takes, time. I'm going to do this. And the hair on the back of your neck stands up. That's a new electrochemical signal to the body. This is the body saying, he's serious this time. It's like jumping on a horse and wrapping your legs around and giving it a kick. The body's like, ooh, we're going to ride now. It's no longer, oh, geez, I think I'm going to change tomorrow. Right. This is a strong signal. And that becomes a long-term memory. That moment defines the person. So then the stronger the emotion, if the emotion of inspiration is greater than the emotion of suffering from the past experience, the stronger the emotion they feel, the more they pay attention to the picture in their mind. We could say they're remembering their future, and they're beginning to brand that circuitry in their brain and send a new emotional signature to their body. And in a sense, they're creating a coherent, clear intention with an elevated, coherent heart emotion, and now they're broadcasting a whole new signature, and that's dropping a big stone in a very placid lake, and here come the waves. That's moving right out into reality, and the person is beginning to change their energy. And nobody changes until they change their energy. And when they change their energy, they change their life. And what's the cool part? The cool part is you start seeing the breadcrumbs coming from the universe. You start saying, keep going, Brian. You're starting to see these synchronicities and these coincidences and these opportunities. And people say, I'm not doing anything. Well, of course you're not doing anything like in the same way you've done everything. You're changing your energy, and now it could be that simple in the present moment. You start seeing feedback coming into your world. I think.
Okay, so think about it this way, right? Think about it this way. Energy is an emotion, or an emotion is energy. Right? Don't worry about the woo-woo side, right? Well, let's not even go there for a minute. Let's keep it sciencey. But the energy is emotion. Emotion is energy. So what we have to do is override or overwrite, right, the emotion that's connected to the patterns or the movies of who you are in the future and what that future version of you does. Does that make sense? So if you're thinking about the future and the emotion or the energy is still from fear or lack or trauma or mistakes or business partners letting you down or you going through hard times around money or you not believing in yourself, and you start to wire that over to the future, then what happens is then all we're going to get is a repeat of the past. Does that make sense? So that the repetition of the past is then going to be our future experience. That's not what we want, man, right? What we want is to be able to, like, I was going to use the word violently then, but don't use the word violently. Violently has got its own set of issues and emotions and chemical responses. But what we're here to do is intensely, right, commit to who you know you truly are if you give everything that you've got and you had a white slate, a blank slate in front of you, and you were to design how you want your life, your business, your income, or who you want to be in the future. Does that make sense? So there's a reason, here's a little secret, there's a reason mindset by design is called that way, right? So we've been going 8 years with this podcast. Think about that. 8 years I've been teaching high performers, but 20 years I've been a high performer and training high performers. And so whether it's an athlete, whether it's a salesperson, whether it's someone scaling a multi-million-dollar business or as a founder, it's all the kind of the same thing. Performance is performance. And the techniques that I've created and the systems around neurovisual conditioning, I'm not going to go into it all right now, but it's when you get it, and then life becomes very, very different. Does that make sense? So for you right here, right now, you can make a new decision, and that new decision is how you want to take action towards your future. Does that make sense? Because it's your future. It's yours. It's not society's, right? It's your future. Society is just giving you a set of instructions of how it wants you to live life because it benefits it. And I'm not saying society is a bad thing. I'm just saying there's a lot of bad things in society, right? Depending on who you are and what you want to do with your life.
That's what people want. As I've said in the past on your show, science is that language. And you can combine the quantum model and neuroscientific model with neuroplasticity and neuroendocrinology and psychoneuroimmunology and epigenetics and electromagnetism and all those wonderful different branches of science and build a new model of understanding. The person has to be able to explain that model. If they can't explain it, Brian, it's not wired in their brain. So they can't assign meaning to what they're doing. They leave it up to conjecture. They leave it up to hope. They leave it up to wishing, praying, wanting. That's the old model. But when they understand what they're doing and why, and they can articulate it, they're installing the neurological hardware in their brain in preparation for the experience, so they'll understand how to do it better. And make it so simple, right, that it's not about making it complicated. What it's about is eliminating everything else that's not part of the formula. So stop wondering why it hasn't happened. Stop analyzing and judging yourself. Stop saying, I can't, it's too hard. Those are the very things that are standing in the way between you and your future. So you come up against yourself. Well, what do most people do when they come up against themselves at home in their meditation? They say, I can't meditate. They get up, they get on their cell phone, they quit. Yeah. They get up, they turn the TV on, they get up, they do whatever, have a cup of coffee, whatever. They haven't gone past that point because they don't understand that they should. So then when you begin to create a model of understanding and the person can explain it, they're wiring it in their brain. Now, as they install the neurological hardware in their brain, they're priming their brain for the experience. So then you give them the instruction and they can understand what they're doing and why, and you set up the conditions in their environment where they feel safe enough to create. Now we take them to the next level. And the experience then begins to change their brain. It begins to change their body. It begins to downregulate certain genes, upregulate other genes.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So what people don't understand in business is to hit that next level in your business, physically, externally, extrinsically, you have to develop the change inside of you first, right? So we can do this very specifically for every area of your life, right? How you do business negotiation might not be the same way as you do creativity or problem solving or conflict resolution between your business partners, right? They're all different things. So the truth is, when we build you into that ultimate you in your business in the future, then what we're doing is I'm getting your nervous system and your brain so used to it. This is neuro-visual conditioning. Neuro-visual conditioning. This is my system that I've used for 20 years, right? Including on myself. It's being able to transition into the next stage, whether that's a training camp for an athlete to game day, whether that's someone who's just gone IPO, whether that's someone who is growing an Amazon business or anything else and who is scaling. It's a change in environment, right? So we have to build that new environment and how you're going to respond to it inside first. If we don't, then you're going to step into the unknown and your nervous system or body is going to react. That's not what we want, man. It's not what we want. What we want is you to feel bulletproof, to feel flow, to feel like this is something that you've done 1,000 times before because we've got you so used to it. Whether I'm putting people on stage, whether I'm sorting, it doesn't matter who I've worked with over the years. Or it could be a business merger. It could be you might have just got a load more ad money or an investor, right? You might have hired sales teams, or you get the idea, right? It's about the next level of mental mastery. And what most entrepreneurs look for is the skill set. They look for the logic. They look for the thing outside of them that is going to give them a new set of tools that then is going to help them perform in that next stage of the business. It doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that, man. What works is you building the internal so then you can perform in the external. Does that make sense? So that's because, like he's talking about, the neurochemistry changes, the neurobiology changes. Everything changes inside of you, so then you can respond to that new environment at your very, very best. And that's what you want, right? You want to be your very, very best. So you need to spend as much time building you inside as you are building a business outside. It's that simple. If not, actually, scrap that. You need to be spending way more, the 20-80 rule, right? Or the 80-20 rule, depending on how you want to say it. But 20% of your actions or your behavior becomes from 80% of you building yourself internally, so your brain and body, nervous system know how to respond automatically. Does that make sense? Hope so. If it doesn't, well, keep listening to this podcast and come and have a chat with me.
And you may have a good meditation. You may not have one that's so great. But if I said to you, now, Brian, what did you do really well in that last meditation that you love about yourself? Explain that to me. And you can articulate what you did really well. I guarantee you, when it comes time to do it again, you'll do it again. Then if I said to you, if you had another opportunity to do it again, what would you do differently? What would you bring? What would you improve on? What would you work on? And if you can articulate that, I guarantee you, you're going to become conscious of those unconscious things that you were once unconscious of, and now you're going to go a little further. And when you stretch a person a little further past that point where they normally stop, that unknown, that's where the magic happens.
That's exactly where the magic happens. And think about it this way before we wrap this up. Everything you want in your business, your life, is outside of what you're experiencing right now. And you might love what you're doing, you might love it, but everything that you want or striving for is in the unknown, it's the new. So we have to make the unknown known. We have to condition so we can make that magic a normal experience. Sound good? Beautiful. Well, crew, that's the end of episode 398. Hope you loved it. If you did love it, make sure you write me a review. Make sure that you share this with someone, and make sure that you're finding somewhere to connect with me on social media. Why don't you come and hang out in the Facebook group, or right now you can just simply go over to unfairadvantage.online. The new brand is going to be up on there very, very soon. But the truth is, if you want to escape the matrix, and you are in Amazon, Shopify, e-commerce, dropshipping agencies, or a digital entrepreneur in any capacity and want to fast track to freedom, this is it. So you can go and claim your, this is such a good training. It really is. You're going to love this video. I love your feedback. It's 11 minutes long. That's it. But it's so powerful, it's so technical, and it's going to be a game changer. And it's going to show you how to thrive and survive as you scale. It's the Mindset Master Plan. So go and do that now. Train your brain, your business brain, like a pro athlete, and fast track to 7 and 8 figures in 2023. It's there for you right now on fairadvantage.online. Until the next time, much love. Keep kicking ass. And one more thing, why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.